Good evening. Good evening. Hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to Coast Packers. I am back, running a little bit late here. I know I haven't been very much on schedule, trying to get back onto the grind of things and try to be a little more consistent with our shows here. Hope everyone's doing well. Planning on having my boy Treg here in a little bit, and we're going to be talking about the Packers' schedule release here, and basically giving our comments on the schedule release, what you guys think about it. You guys want to leave your comments and questions in the chat. We'll answer them as we get them. My thoughts about the schedule and basically kind of like where the Packers are going to be, how we're looking at the schedule, the pros, the cons, the favorite matchup, the worst matchup, and honestly, the bye week where it is, lots of primetime games, multiple Saturday and got Thursday games, we got Saturday games, we got Monday night game, all that good stuff. So if everyone's doing well. A lot of stuff been going on in the Packerverse since the last time we spoke. We had press conferences by all of the offensive and defensive coordinators, to include the assistants on both sides. And you can definitely tell there was a certain tone related to the way some of the coaches were speaking. Some highlights from the pressers that I noticed was that, Ansley has been in direct contact, daily contact with Jair Alexander. I know LaFleur has also been that way as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that bridge can be mended and allowing them to basically bring him back for a year, let him get an incentive-based contract where multiple different media heads have spoken on this. Jeremy Fowler, I know Domofsky, Wildy, a lot of guys have kind of spoken on thoughts of him, as well as Elton. Elton just wants to get paid probably more than what the market value is for centers if he's going to switch to center, because he has been an all-pro left guard. He has been above average to almost elite left tackle. And I don't blame him for trying to keep his money the same, if not make a little bit more. Probably make a guard top 5 guard money at the center position. I think is a fairly reasonable compromise, considering the fact that without him, you might be putting in Sean Ryan or Jacob Monk at center. And that's where things get a little wishy-washy, because you don't really know what they can do at that position. We've seen Ryan play there in spot duty. Jacob Monk is a center from college. But the one guy who's been pretty elite at all the positions minus right tackle, even though he was coming off of an ACL injury, Elton has really been literally one of the best offensive linemen we've had on our line since Dave Bakhtiari. I mean, I could say that pretty confidently. So you heard Steno talk about how he was kind of open to the idea of playing center, and that basically the reason why he's not there isn't anything related to position change per se, but more so about something that's outside of that, like not injury or anything like that. Then, of course, you had the new defensive line coach Covington speak, and listening to, unfortunately, they don't do their press conferences live. So you had to kind of like go based off what the reporters had said. And Wildy had kind of taken back from him was that he was very impressed by Covington. Covington used to be a coach up under Hafley. He's also coached many different types of schemes, being in New England. He's also been a defensive coordinator at one point as well. So he does bring a wealth of knowledge, a lot more experience and knowledge than I feel Revovich had. And I'm really hoping that he can take the talent that we have on that defensive line and make something happen with it. He did say this is his first time coaching first-round picks on the defense line, so he's definitely looking forward to that. And you can tell he's kind of very giddy about the opportunity to do that. And of course, you had Rafferty come out and talk about the receivers. Jaden Reed. There's a lot of stuff coming out. Maybe the new agent coming in and talking about how there was some conversations and then needed to occur to ensure that he's going to be the WR1. And for me, I feel like what the situation with that is that it was really a nothing burger. It was just the agent trying to act like he was going to advocate for his player. And both LaFleur as well as Rafferty were kind of thrown back. We're really thrown back by the commentary. And they realized that maybe it's just kind of like keeping people on the same page. But going back and looking at some of the highlights from last year, I think everyone saw it where, LaFleur – Love could have had some moments where he could have been better. He did improve in other areas. He did deal with injury, but his receivers really didn't give him a chance. There was a lot of drop passes, hence why there was such an investment made with Savion and Golden. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that competition kind of bring out the best of them. But that's kind of like it for the most part when it comes to like the press conferences and things that were said. Those are a little bit of the highlights, and I kind of do want to touch more on the actual schedule itself. And my boy Trey is now here with us. And Trey, how you doing, man?
What is going on tonight?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. Schedule came out last week. I think it was a week ago. Wait, a week, maybe been 2 weeks now. Shoot, but it's been a little bit. It's been a while. And I know a lot of people have touched on it, but I wanted to maybe have us get our comments out there and just kind of see where you're feeling. But first off, how was your weekend? Did you have a good weekend? How's your Monday going so far?
It was a good weekend. I mean, we had storms move through here in Wisconsin over the last Thursday. Oh, God. That seems like
yeah.
Last Thursday there. And, I mean, we lost power for a little bit. And it was just, I mean, that kind of weekend, right? So then we had storm damage cleanup. We had some buildings go a little bit. And so, yeah, it was just that kind of weekend.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was listening to the Homer show. I listened to all my stuff through, like, Apple and iHeartRadio and different things. I know Sparky got on my ass about listening to Apple. He's like, you need to listen to iHeartRadio. I was like, my bad, man. But basically, what I noticed was the storms you guys got were so crazy that it actually like impacted some of the shows where the warning for it to get to safety, to get under cover, and to be careful was actually going through the podcast, which I thought was pretty crazy.
Really?
Yeah, man. I couldn't believe it. I was like, dude, what the heck? I was like, okay. I remember you sent me the video of you like cooking outside. So I'm like, damn, you weren't kidding, man. Shit.
I had the old little grill out there cooking because the power went out. Well, then the power came on midway through cooking, and I was like, "That I'm committed now." I was like, "I ain't going inside now."
There you go. I was yeah, you're already in it, right? You're already in at that point,
right?
So, Craig, first, give me your thoughts on the schedule and just what you're thinking about the makeup of it, our opponents, the way they kind of lined up, and then what we're probably going to do is go over like our favorite matchup of the season, our most concerned matchup of the season, and then also eventually we'll kind of get to the point where we talk about guessing what the record might be by the end of the year.
Initial reaction.
Yes,
it's a gauntlet.
Yes,
this is a gauntlet here. I mean, you start the year with Detroit and Washington, and that's all you need to know right there. Right, and even, right. I mean, is Cleveland going to be a cakewalk? Possibly, but at the same, I mean, they're going to still be trying to figure out the quarterback position, but right. I think the defense is still going to be good. And then Dallas, I feel like they're going to be back a little bit. So Dallas is going to be a menace. You got Cincinnati. So if your defense isn't ready to go, Cincinnati's going to put up 40 on you. Arizona is an up and coming team. Pittsburgh is always Pittsburgh. Carolina, I feel like, is under the radar. They could be better than what a lot of people think. Philadelphia is darn good. The Giants are the Giants. I don't care about them. Minnesota's got question marks with JJ McCarthy. Outside of that, the defense is going to be good. Detroit, Dan Campbell's still the coach. This is going to be a tough team. They're going to be a tough out. It's not like any game in the NFC North, I don't feel like it's going to be a cakewalk anymore. I feel like every week for the Packers is going to be a rough, we got to go give our best stuff or we might lose this game kind of schedule. That's what I'm looking at. I mean, even top to bottom, there is no part of this schedule where I say they had an easy stretch right here. There is no easy stretch. There's easier games where I feel like they should have them. But outside of that, I mean, there's no easy stretch of games that I'm looking at.
Yeah, I think last year we saw that, right? And I think we got fool's gold. And there were games that were coming up and we're like, oh, yeah, this should be a win. This should be a win. And then what happened? Packers didn't show up, whatever was the situation. And I don't feel like we could take for granted any team this year. Like it feels like you just said, there are better matchups, there's worse matchups. But overall, every team that we have on our schedule obviously has something to play for, but they all have young and upcoming teams for the most part. You don't have teams where you're like, oh, yeah, I think we should beat them. Like even Dallas with all the new coaching staff there, they still have a very good foundation of a team. Dak Prescott comes back healthy. They still have made some pretty good moves on. They drafted pretty decently. And it's just every single team from the week one we go against are basically – it's not even a rivalry anymore because Dan Campbell's had our number now for a little bit. But he has a whole new coaching staff, and I think if you're going to get Detroit, week one is probably the best way to get Detroit because they're trying to fill things out, for the most part, the Packers coaching staff has stayed intact, but you do have new talent. So you got to hope that it infuses properly. Going against a team like Washington, who very much overachieved last year, and then kind of jumping into that on a Thursday night game, on a short week, after playing a rival, it's definitely a schedule where I feel like the Packers will be better for it at the end of the year. Hopefully, they're in a situation where they're making a run for the playoffs. Come November, you've already gone through a pretty massive gauntlet of matchups at that point, right?
You're going to be battle tested. This is playoff schedule, battle tested. You're going to have your scars already. You should be. If you are going to make a run, this will be the schedule that'll prove that you can.
Yeah, exactly.
If you come out of this with 11 wins, I'm like 11 wins. I'm taking it to the bank. A wild card in this schedule, wild card. I wouldn't even like. Do I want the Packers to win the North? Yes, I want them to win the North, course. And I think they can win the North. But if they don't, if they got a wild card after looking at this schedule, as long as they don't lose any stupid games, like they lost some stupid games last year, as long as they don't lose games in stupid ways, and it's just, they had a dogfight with Baltimore, and it was a shootout. They had a dogfight with the Bengals, and the Bengals somehow stopped the Packers because their defense is terrible. I don't know. If there's games like that on this schedule where it's like you took them toe-to-toe, you went into Detroit, and you lost by 3.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you should have won it, but at the same time, I'm not going to look back on it and say this was the reason. Yeah, okay, but it's okay. It's okay. End of the day.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, even if you look at all the teams, I think of all the teams, we might have, I think, 1, 2, 3. There's only 5 teams that are non-playoff teams. Every single other team, and I take that back. Bengals are non-playoff teams. That's 6 teams, but they probably should have made the playoffs. But they
got sneaky teams on there, though.
Yeah,
sneaky
a lot of sneaky
teams.
Games. Exactly. Yep. And it's one of those things where you have a lot of unfamiliar opponents again, right? So you gotta kind of have your A game every time. And this is one of those times. This is one of those schedules where LaFleur can't have that game where it's not that he's not unprepared. It just comes off that way, if that makes sense. The way they kind of attack the team, the way the offense is disjointed, the defense for the most part is okay, but every one of those games where we come out really flat, it takes them a good quarter and a half maybe to really get their get the rubber hitting the road and being able to kind of get the feet up under them, which is frustrating.
Yes, no, 100%. That's the big knock I have on Matt LaFleur is his team's preparedness going in. I feel like at times he doesn't get his team ready to rock, and that's a problem for me. That is a problem. I got 1 second.
Go, man. Go. You good? Right. I'll actually jump off of that because I completely agree. Like, there's some games where we're like, oh yeah, we're gonna get blown out. We're gonna lose. Like, this is gonna be terrible. And then somehow we show up and we show out and we whoop their butt. And there's other teams where we're like, oh man, this should be not too bad. And like that Chicago game end of the season last year where should have won that hands down. But there had to be a cataclysm of events to it occur to where Chicago was able to come back and squeak out a win last second. And it's just it drives me crazy. And I know that when it comes down to it, with the way the schedule's kind of built out, is really going to show us the resolve of the Packers as well as LaFleur and everybody else. And it's definitely a put up or shut up kind of season for a lot of players on the team. And I doubt we're going to be the youngest team in the NFL this year. But the truth is that I'm really looking forward to seeing how we develop when it comes as a team and the players, second-year guys, third- and fourth-year guys really starting to come into their roles, or maybe possibly finding roles on other teams because of the influx of younger talent that's coming in and might be pushing people for starting roles or backup roles and allows other people to be dispensable. So Treg's going to go here for a second, and we're going to talk about our favorite matchups of the week when it comes to favorite matchups of the schedule. I know for me, there's a lot. I mean, there's so many good games on this schedule. I'm not gonna lie. Like my favorite matchups are gonna be a lot of the AFC North matchups. I'm really gonna look forward to seeing how they match with a high power offense like the Bengals, as well as how we hold up against the Ravens, and of course, again a chance to go toe to toe with the Super Bowl champs, the Philadelphia Eagles, Monday night at Lambeau Field. I mean, those are probably my top 3 favorite matchups right now. It's just seeing basically how we line up against basically three potent offenses, and then you have the Eagles, who have probably one of the best defenses in the league. Ravens are up there as a top 5 defense as well too. Um, if anything, that those favorite matchups of mine shows me, it just shows us where we are as a team when it comes to matching up against playoff caliber teams and how we can hold up against unfamiliar opponents. Who would you think? Who is your favorite matchup out of the schedule this week?
Washington week 2.
Okay.
Washington week 2, just because of the offense. Jane Daniels, what they had last year, the defense stepped up for Washington in key spots. I like that matchup week 2 because I think between week 1 and 2, the Packers are going to see a lot of what we got.
Yeah.
What do we got now? Detroit's going to test them defensively week 1. Offensively is going to be week 2. The defense is really going to be tested against, I think they're going to be tested in both games, but especially against Washington because that's a high-flying offense that can get around and they like to throw the ball a lot. So I think you're going to be really tested in that game against Washington. I think the run defense will be against Detroit because Dan Campbell likes to ground and pound. He likes to stick it to you. So I could see in there. I am really interested in those two matchups. I really think the Packers got to prove this year in the NFC North more than anywhere else, just because they went 1-5.
Yeah.
And technically, if we really want to do technicalities, if it wasn't for a blocked field goal that was right on the money, it was going to be 0-6, and we were going to be talking to Bears fans about what do we have to say then? We have nothing. We have nothing we can
get swept by everybody in the division?
Yes. Yep. So, I mean, for me, I'm looking at that, and I'm saying, well, the NFC North games have got to be if they're not my favorite matchups, but they're the ones where I'm most interested to see, hey, what do they come out like?
Yeah.
Because you got to get up for those games. You have to really get up for those games. I thought that's where Matt LaFleur, like you mentioned earlier, I mean, first quarter, you come out and you just come out and lay a stink egg multiple times. That game in Brazil, the Packers could have been up, 3 scores and basically put the game away early because the Eagles kept turning the ball over and the defense kept giving them the ball in plus territory and they couldn't do anything with it. That's a problem. And it happened multiple times. You went down big to Detroit. You had to claw your way back to make it look like something. Mm-hmm. You went down big to Minnesota. You had to claw your way back to make it look like something. Multiple times you came out and laid an egg. And then you had to try to claw your way back. And we're all like, oh, well, the offense was good enough. You're trying to make them throw the ball 1,000,001 times when in all reality, they want to use Josh Jacobs more than not. But you can't. I think that Detroit
balanced, man. They were so unbalanced last year. Run game became the focus because of Jordan's injury. I get that. But I'm 100% with you on that, where it's just like you remember when Rodgers in 2022 when he had the injury and stuff like that. And instead of him, he just kept taking deep shots and wasn't hitting nothing, right? Yep. We saw that so much last year where Jordan was like, F it, Jaden's down there, F it, Watson's down there or something like that, right? And it's like, dude, you have to coach the team that you have. And that doesn't mean you run the ball 3 times and you punt, but you got to just mix it up a little bit, which LaFleur was really good at all up until last season, where there were some games he was good and some games what's going on here? Are you, and that's why he's been questioned every year at the end of the year. Do you consider taking away play calling and letting someone else handle it, right? And he always says, if I think it's the best thing for the team, then I'll do it. And he is very good at calling plays, and he's pretty ingenious with the way he set things up. I just felt like last year we didn't see that setup as much as we have in the past. And that's what's infuriating.
I think he tried to protect Jordan Love too much.
Too much. I agree.
And it took because what we saw when Malik Willis was at quarterback was it was a different kind of game plan. He really worked on it. He really kind of drew things out. It was what we saw him the year before, where he's taking a lot of things out of his bag and a lot of things out of the hand belt, and nobody knew that they were there. A lot of different trick plays, whatever it was. Yeah. Jordan Love came back, and it was, okay, let's run the most basic shotgun, pistol. Let's try to take deep shots. Let's try to hit this. And it just wasn't there. And you weren't running guys open. You weren't throwing. And Jordan Love, I thought, struggled throwing guys open too. I thought his timing was terrible. I thought his timing was terrible on his throws. And that really took a lot away because, you watch other quarterbacks, and I love watching, actually my favorite one to watch is Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. Because the connection that those two have is when Joe Burrow doesn't even know Jamar Chase is going to make his break, but he does, right? And Jamar Chase doesn't know the ball's coming already, but Joe Burrow knows Jamar Chase is making that turn. Yeah. So he hits that little out route, and it's 5 yards, boom, and the ball's already there.
Yep.
The Packers don't have that. He
No.
has to basically do, okay, I'm going to throw it here now, and he's 5 seconds too late. And when you're 5 seconds too late in the game of football, you give the corners, you give the safeties, you get everybody 5 seconds to catch up. There's a lot of dangerous throws, a lot of dangerous plays. And also, you don't get the big hitters because guys are already caught up to. You got to hit those guys in stride. And that's where my worry is, okay, Matthew Golden, he's faster and all get out, right? Can we hit him in stride? Can we hit him on the break? Can we give him the opportunity to be the burner that he is? Because you mentioned it coming out of the draft there. His biggest problem was he wasn't able to debut it at Texas because Quinn Ewers didn't have quite the arm, right? And we know Jordan Love has the arm. I just don't think – I think Jordan Love is up in his head. It's not his arm. It's not the talent. I think that's all there. I think it's a headspace thing. I think it's a timing thing.
Own way sometimes.
Yep, I think it's a tempo thing. Yeah. It's a feet thing. We talked about what's quarterback coach? Can't remember his name now. He just retired.
Yeah, Tom Clemens.
Tom Clemens. He talked about his feet, and he said his feet were terrible. I think his feet were terrible last year, but nobody fixed it.
Yeah,
nobody went back and fixed it, and I thought that was an issue with his tempo because if his feet are messed up, his tempo's off, his arm's off, his rhythm's off, and when that's off, a quarterback is all rhythm. It's basically drop back, boom. First read, second read, boom, boom, boom. I don't think he ever got past the first, second read. I don't think he ever surveyed it and then brought it back. And that's
what I think a little bit, but I'll push back a little bit because I felt like that his injury did play into the fact his feet weren't settled. You saw that he wasn't planting and throwing, something that kind of like Rodgers did in 2020. He found something in his hitch and he realized it, fixed it, and he had an MVP season, right? And Jordan did a lot of that in 2023. And then in 2024, he definitely was getting away from – he was bouncing a lot. He wasn't stepping into throws. As well as his – we know how we always talk about Rodgers and trust, right? I felt like there were times – you know how you were saying he was in his head? I felt like Jordan – there would be times where he would hit these guys in stride, hit them in the hands, they drop the ball. And then that keeps happening. Now he's like, do I got to make the most perfect throw as well as I got to make sure this guy is not like NFL open, but almost like college open, if that makes sense, right? And
100%. And that's all the mental space. Like, all right, well, that is all the mental space.
Yeah. And like there's times where you see like he'll throw guys open and then they'll drop it. And I'm just like, it was that play against Houston when he threw a deep post route to Jaden Reed at the end of the second, right before the second quarter ended. And Jaden Reed runs up under it, drops the ball. And I'm just like, there was so many plays like that. And I feel like a little bit's on Jordan, a little bit's on the receivers, hence why, you know, with the new quarterback coach, Sean Mannion, he spoke last week, and I think he's going to be able to provide a different perspective because he played in the league for 8 years, right? He has more game time talent, recent game time talent than Tom Clemens did. Now, can he help with footwork and stuff like that? Footwork has been a problem for Jordan since his days at Utah State. That's nothing new. You know what I'm saying? That's been one of his drawbacks, and that once he got that locked in, Matt Waldman, a lot of guys have said that once he got that locked in, that he could be a pretty good top 10 quarterback, and we've seen him play at that level. And it's just like now we need to make sure he takes that next step because this team is only going to go as far as Jordan Love goes in his development as well too.
I think, and I think you hit the nail on the head, but I think that is the problem is I think Jordan Love needs to find the consistency in the inconsistency.
Yes.
He can't, and you mentioned it great there, and that's we kind of put both of ours together.
Yeah.
His headspace was off because there was a lot of other pieces that were off, right? But the problem is that if Jordan Love then stoops to that, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Tucker Kraft didn't come with him, but maybe Jaden Reed's down there. Now we see Jordan Love stoop down to Jaden Reed. Well, now Tucker Kraft's like, you're not hitting me in stride, dude. Like you're way late. What's going on? And that's a problem. You can't, as a quarterback, you need to find the consistency. You need to stay there. You need to stay at that high level. You need to bring everybody else with you. And if they can't, well, then you got to find somebody else. That's plain and simple. And that's kind of where you look at Patrick Mahomes, how he elevates. You look at the guys that they bring in to play wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs every year. Nobody's. I kid you, nobody's. They go elsewhere. They're nothing. They come there. They're great. Look at what I mean. And the prime example I always use is Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Julian Edelman. Chris
Yeah,
Hogan.
undrafted free agent.
Yep.
Yeah, I get it.
Chris
Yeah.
Hogan. What's Chris Hogan not in a uniform out there? Wes Welker when he went there. He amplified the talent around him. And I'm not saying they wouldn't have been something elsewhere. They might have been. But you watch what they were able to do. I'll say Michael Jordan with Scottie Pippen. He made Scottie Pippen better. Is this how it is?
Yeah.
You make the guys around you better. And if you don't, that's a problem. And that's where I think Jordan Love has to be that constant factor.
Yeah.
He
Quarterbacks
cannot
do
be
that
the
though, right?
inconsistent. You're going to have inconsistency at quarterback. Like, I'm not saying that he always has to be great. Like, he's going to have some struggles, right? Every quarterback does. We watched Jared Goff throw, 4 or 5 interceptions against the Texans last year. It was ridiculous.
Exactly.
So, like, I get there's going to be some.
They still won. They still won that.
That's how
game.
bad the Texans defense was.
Yeah.
How bad it was.
What the hell, man?
But that's the thing. That's all I want to see out of Jordan Love is to find that consistency in the inconsistency. And I think if they find that, I think this offense can flourish then, because then I think the young weapons, you have so many weapons now that even if one is struggling, there's a lot more back there. So I think you have a lot of weapons to use. So if one struggles, if Jordan Love can stay consistent, get him the football on time, in a timely fashion, he gets everything settled down with his feet. I agree. I think the injury affected a lot of things. And I also think it affected the development of this team, because
100%.
you went from Jordan Love,
right? Yeah, exactly.
Yep. You went from Jordan Love week 1 to Malik Willis, who played well. I'm not saying he didn't play well, but the whole game plan changed.
Willis comes down, they're like, oh shit, we got a little bit of a quarterback controversy? He even said that on Busting with the Boys. And I'm like, bro, like chill. Like Malik was amazing, but like let's not cause a drama.
He's great. I mean, he's great. And honestly, if a team, I hate this because I love having a good backup quarterback, to be honest with you. But if a team called right now and they're like, hey, we'll give you this 3rd round draft pick for next year or whatever for Malik Willis right now.
Yeah. 100%.
If the Pittsburgh Steelers told me they'd trade me TJ Watt and all I had to do is package up Malik Willis and a couple picks and I can have them, deuces, man.
Yeah, you got to tell me. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I love you. You're a great, like the whole story of him at the combine where he gave the gear out for free to almost like, he's an awesome guy. He's an awesome guy.
That's not with him even knowing anyone's watching him, which I love that about him.
Like he's awesome.
He did that the kindness of his heart, which I think he's just a good, he's the kind of dude you'd want to be representing your franchise as a quarterback. I mean, playing simple, on the field and off the field. There was some negative commentary that came out about Tennessee from Taylor Lewan, who came back and ate his words. And he even said, like, he was never prepped the way he was prepped in Green Bay and Tennessee. Yeah. Now, is that a knock on those coaching staffs? It's probably a reason why they've gone through coaching staffs every 3 years over there, because, they don't know what the hell they're doing. And our guys, as much hate as they get, have some idea about how they can coach quarterbacks and make them better every time, right?
They figure it out along the way.
Yeah. And like you said, quarterbacks are the reason why players on teams are either really good or really bad. And like you just said, there's some receivers and other playmakers who will go to other teams that aren't as good. And guess what? They're not doing the same thing, right? Yep. Like the Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow comp is a good one, because they've been knowing each other since their freshman year in high school. Not freshman year, but basically Jamar's freshman year and Joe Burrow's sophomore year in LSU. And they've had this chemistry since day one, no different than Rodgers and Jordy. When they were on a practice squad and they were doing, not practice squad, but they're doing scout team together and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I need Jordan to develop that kind of chemistry with these guys. The guys that are already there and have been there, as well as, and that's why I feel like he has that chemistry with Romeo Doubs. Hence why I'm okay with letting Doubs go, but I can understand why they wouldn't, because there is a connection there where many times last year and the year before, when he was in trouble, he'd go to Doubs, and more than often than he would bail him out. Yep. And so it'll be, like you said, this year's going to be really telling to see not only the creativity based on LaFleur and Steno and what they do with all the new toys they have, but also what Jordan can do with that, knowing that he has more options than he did last year. Right?
Yeah. No, I agree.
So what do you think? Who's the one matchup this year that you ain't looking forward to?
Chicago.
That you're most worried about?
Chicago at Chicago. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I got that gut feeling that Chicago is going to figure it out. I really do. I think I don't like the Bears. Like, we
put that caveat out there real quick.
Yeah, I don't like the Bears, but I will respect what Johnson was able to do with Detroit. Yeah. I think he's a very smart guy.
Yep.
Now, does that translate to Caleb Williams, who's currently under fire right now because he told basically, I don't want to go to the Bears? Like,
Uh-huh.
is it put him underneath the fire? Maybe. But if they can do that water underneath the bridge, if they added depth to the offensive line, they answered. This is the thing.
All
They
the
answered their
questions.
questions in the offseason.
Yes.
That's what they
Yes.
did. They went out and they answered the questions. Did the Packers answer the questions? Some, but I don't
No.
think they
Yeah, I
answered
agree.
all of them,
Yep.
which is the exact opposite. The Bears answered them. They had the guys in the room, and then they answered the rest of them. So, am I worried about the Bears? Yes, 100%. I'm worried about the Bears. Actually, honestly, between the Bears, Detroit, and the Vikings, the Vikings have a good defense, but I don't know about JJ McCarthy. I think he's
Yeah.
solid. I
Same.
don't know if he's great.
Yep.
Detroit lost they lost both their coordinators.
Yeah.
But they still return the cast of characters, and that defense is just going to be better than ever. So whoever comes in, it's going to be A-okay there. This is going to be a good division.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good division all the way around. So the Bears in Chicago, I think at home, you'd want to say at home because you don't want to lose that game at home there.
Yeah.
But I would say the Philadelphia Eagle game too,
Yeah.
November 10th, the Monday night game. I think that one could be a concern if you are the Packers. I mean, you want to go really concerning, I would go an upset. I would say, you have Pittsburgh, Carolina, and Philadelphia sandwiched together.
Yeah.
Maybe that Carolina game where you go and you play Carolina. Maybe
Carolina
a game
came
like that.
on like gangbusters last year. Like the end of the season.
Those games worry me, the surprise games.
Yeah, Bryce Young came, he figured it out. And he was like,
Yep.
he was on fire at the end of the year. And I'm like, yo, if he's figuring it out and they got more weapons for him, they went and got McMillan. They invested in the running backs. They, Jonathan Brooks is done, but they brought in who they bring in? Oh my God, they have Chuba there, and they brought somebody else in to let Miles Sanders go. Oh my gosh, dude!
I'll figure it out. I'll find it.
Who the hell is it? Oh gosh, and he's actually a pretty decent running back too. But yeah, I'm just saying. And then defensively, they have Evero. They paid J.C. Horn. They drafted pretty well on the defense as well too. Like I said, Carolina is that team that, like you said, you would think that we would run them out, but that could be the one that can surprise us. They almost beat us last time too.
Yep.
And
Rico Dowell. Was it Dowell?
Rico. Yes. Rico Dowell.
I liked him when he was with Dallas.
Yeah,
I thought he had a lot of potential. I just thought that they sucked in general, so that he wasn't able to do
what it was. Yeah, he couldn't get a touchdown to save his life because I have my fantasy football, but he averaged like 120 yards a game. He was breaking them off.
Yeah.
But no, I think that for me, my biggest game. I mean, Chicago's a good pull because you're right. They have everything. They've done everything they need to do to help Caleb be successful. I think that article coming out, that book coming out, or whatever by Seth Wickerham, it definitely doesn't paint Caleb in the proper light. I think that if you want to compare him to Eli and all of them, I get that, but it's just like it just sounds like there's a lot of stuff that was going on behind the scenes, and it kind of does play into already this very much entitled mentality that we have about Caleb.
Yeah.
And right. And so that goes into that. But again, you know what? Ben Johnson, great OC. It doesn't always translate to as a head coach. Maybe it will in this situation. Who knows? But they don't have any excuses. I hate to say it because, they like you said, they answer all the questions in free agency, answer all the questions in the draft. They have a good coaching staff with Ben Johnson. They picked up Dennis Allen as a DC, who's a very good DC. He's just not a good head coach. And they got Eric Bieniemy as a running back coach there, who's an amazing offensive mind. And they have the right people there. Now the question is, can they get the most out of their generational, supposedly number one pick overall? So for me, like division games are always concerning to me. And honestly, like you don't want to lose any of them because you want to have bragging rights as a fan. But honestly, like the Philly game's a good one. I'm gonna probably go Baltimore because that's at the end of the season, and you kind of want to hit your ground running going into the playoffs. And playing a team like Baltimore 2 weeks out from the, basically a week out from the season finale, worries me because it's just like Baltimore is one of those teams that all the AFC North teams, they are battle-tested teams. They play with a lot of ferocity and a lot of like aggressiveness, and it only makes you better. But they definitely will punk out the soft teams, right? And Baltimore is one of those teams where they're going to punch you in the mouth. You got to be able to punch back,
Yep.
And I'll be honest with you. I really want us to sweep Detroit. Like, I really want to just have the floor come out there in their press conference. And I want him to be like, yeah, you know what? We had Detroit come in town today, and we knew that if we took them to the deep end, that they just wouldn't be able to swim because they fucking Campbell says that shit every single time. And I tell you, I don't care how roided up and jacked up he is. I want to punch him in his fucking mouth every time he says it. Because it's like, dude, like say something different first off. And secondly, you act like wore us down or something. In both games, even when we were broke the hell up, we still kept in that game. Like, what are you talking about, dog? Like,
Yep.
That Baltimore and the Detroit game. I'm just gonna say
I just want Chicago twice, and then Matt LaFleur to say, "Well, I like beating Ben Johnson."
Yes.
This is fun. Just take your shots back. That'd be fun. That'd be fun. You know what? I hate the bye week 5. Hate that.
Yes.
Hate the bye week 5.
Bye week 5 sucks.
If I got to talk about the most concerning thing of this entire schedule is that you have no break after week 5.
Yeah.
That'd
might
be
have the short breaks, right? Because of the games that are like on Saturday, and like we might have, I think, another Thursday night game because of Thanksgiving. So you get a little bit of that like mini buys there. But you're right though, like it's you know what though.
You got 2 Thursday night games. Thursday night games. So you're gonna have 2 games on 4 days rest. So you're gonna have what is that? Detroit after Minnesota. You have Detroit on a Thursday night. After Detroit, you have Washington 4 days later. Like that's two terrible setups there for games. I would say
first 3 weeks are like garbage, dude. You're like,
I agree.
I agree. Like, what is this, dude?
I would say if they go 3-3 against the NFC North, I'd be fine.
Oh yeah, honestly,
if they take the 3 home games again, if they win at Lambeau and they go and they still play good games, I want them to win them all. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
If they go 3-3 or 4-2, I'm not gonna bat an eye. I'm gonna be like, okay, what'd they do the rest of the schedule?
Right.
That's where I think they're kind of looking right now is what the games that are gonna mean the most.
Yes,
Cleveland. Probably, I would say Cleveland, Arizona, Carolina, New York, and give me Cincinnati because you should win that game. So those are 5 wins. You got to have those. You got to have those 5 games because if you don't have those 5 games, the rest of the schedule is horrible to look at. Because and you can maybe throw Dallas, give me maybe 5 or 6. You can maybe throw 5 or 6. Outside of those 6. The rest of the schedule is a gauntlet, and if you don't win those 5, or at least 5 of those 6, you're setting yourself up for a terrible stretch of games right there. So that would be my worry, I would say.
Yeah, I was gonna say like that. I'll say is Philadelphia had a week 5 bye last week, and they won a Super Bowl. So I'm just gonna use that as my solace for the rest of the year. I don't know how much.
Right?
Yeah,
as long as nobody gets banged up, knock on wood. As long as nobody gets banged up.
And it's funny. Last time we had a week 5 bye week, we needed it because we had already been banged up already, right? Yep. So I'm just like, like consider the fact that we have so many of those games off the first 5 weeks where those first 4 weeks is pretty much a gauntlet. You know what I'm saying? Like we're not getting any easy wins, and we won't get that all year. So again, this team will be a team battle, a team of attrition, of adversity, and hopefully they can come out better for it. And with that being said, all right. Season record guess. So for me, I kind of went through the schedule, and I was thinking we're going to be roughly about 12-5. And that's normally me on the optimistic side, right? So I think we could probably get Detroit. I think we could probably sweep Detroit this year because there's going to be a lot of changes on that offensive staff and defensive staff where I think we could take advantage of that. I feel like the Washington game is going to be we may drop that game because I feel like we might have a hard time containing a guy like Jaden Daniels. But again, their defense is still trash, right? Cleveland, I was with you on that. Offensive, I don't know what we're gonna have to worry about there, but defensively, they're still pretty legit. Dallas is a very much of a hit or miss, but we, knock on wood, are undefeated at AT&T Stadium, so hopefully we can keep that going. And then basically from there, just the amount we have to catch these teams at the right chance, right? So that's why I was going 12-5. For the most part, I feel like we would go and I think we'd be I think I guessed about 3-3 or 4-2 in division. I felt like we could get Detroit both games. Even the Thanksgiving game, they're normally unstoppable, but we did stop them once. I think we could do it again. I think we can get Minnesota one time, and then they'll get us the other time somehow because just something crazy will happen. And then Chicago, I think we'll tie with Chicago. They will go 1-1 with Chicago.
Give me 3-3 against the North.
Okay.
So we got 3. Give me Dallas. Give me Cleveland. That's 5. Give me Cincinnati and Arizona. That's 7.
Okay.
Give me Carolina for 8. Give me New York for 9. Denver's at Denver. I don't like that. Give me Baltimore back home. That's 10. I like 10 right there, and I left one out of there. I left Washington out. I think they lose the game to Washington.
Which one?
I think they beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. Give me 11. Give me
11.
11. Yeah,
Okay.
I could take 11. 11 solid.
Get to
11 or
11 and
12.
6.
I think they'll be right in that area there. I think you could give or take a couple. I mean,
Yeah.
Washington at home, I think they can have that one. I just think there's going to be a lot of games that's like, what shows up week 2? After playing Detroit in week 1 and on a short week, playing again, you're still at home, so it's a little bit nicer. You don't have to travel on a short week, but it's also 4 days later. Because my thing is, Detroit games are physical.
Yeah.
So can you go play a physical game with Detroit, and then this is the problem with Matt LaFleur's teams? Can you play physical and then play physical again?
Yeah.
Because I think the physicality of his team sometimes lack. So can he bring it 2 weeks?
Yeah. He can do it 1 week, and the other week he's like,
Yes.
a little
and
off.
now it's 4 days apart. Can you bring it 4 days apart? That's a big question for me. Can you bring it against Detroit and then 4 days later, technically 3 almost, right?
Yeah, because it's the afternoon game too. Yeah.
Yeah. When it's all said and done, can you bring it 3 days later and hit Washington again? That's my worry with those games right there. And even looking at Minnesota, they're going to play a physical team. They're going to play physical with you. That's a good defense. You're going to get ground and pound there. Then you have to play Detroit right after that. Can you play physical on another short rest?
Yeah.
It's all these short rest ones that kind of concern me going in there. Plus, you play Minnesota, which it isn't much of a travel, I guess, Minnesota than going to Detroit.
But still, though.
It's not really that far, but you're still traveling. You're still getting on your plane.
Still out of your element, right? Yeah.
Flying across that lake there and going basically, 20 feet across. You can see the stadium across the lake. Right. But they've always said build a bridge. I don't think they could build a bridge, but I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be cool to see a bridge across there.
Look, it's funny too because Minnesota is going to have 2 back-to-back weeks overseas. Right, I think they're gonna be in a London game, and they got another Munich game or something crazy.
It's like the Jaguars; they live over there.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, that just gets guys out of their element. So I'm with you. I think we're both kind of lockstep when it comes to the record. I think 11-6 or 12-5, they're still making the playoffs.
Yeah.
And for me, as us being fans of Entitled Town, I feel like sometimes that we do take for granted that we make the playoffs almost every year. So I'm looking forward to that. And honestly, just trying to get as healthy as possible. I know that in 2010 was a fluke year for us but I say it because we had 105 people on IR and we still made a Super Bowl and won it. So, I mean, yeah, you just talk about the bottom churning of the roster coming out and actually showing up. And the way Goody has constructed this team, there's a lot of depth pieces that I feel like can really step up. The fact that the coaching staff is hyping up Kalen King, I always get suckered into this crap where they say something in offseason about a player that I fall in love with. And I've always been a Kalen King fan ever since he got drafted and he was crying and he was just crying because he was pissed.
Yeah.
He's like, I cannot wait to prove that I'm happy you guys draft me and that you guys didn't make a mistake drafting me and proving every other team that didn't draft me after our 7 rounds that they should have. And I'm just like, I can get with that. I can get with a guy has a chip on his shoulder, and more often than not, guys with chips on their shoulders have shown to be able to be resilient and do well in the NFL. So,
yep. No, I agree.
So, with that being said, any last words, my friend?
Not for this one. But if you're around the state of Wisconsin, tune in on Wednesday. You'll hear Ummer over there at 92.3 WOSQ on my show over there. He'll be talking about the Packers over there. We got even more stuff to talk about on there. I don't know if it's going to be any different than this, but we got even more stuff to talk about. So,
and look, guys, he's right about that. And he talks about everything Wisconsin, all the sports, everything from college to NBA to baseball. Anything you need when it comes to anything sports related to Wisconsin, please check out Trey at that point. He knows a hell of a lot more than I do when it comes to all them other sports. I just stick to my lane, which is football. So, but yeah, we're going to keep this one a little bit short today. We're trying to make sure we get the schedule release out, talk about that. We're going to definitely try to get back on again next Monday. Try to get consistent with this Monday thing. Don't blame Trey, blame me. I'm the one that's always got family stuff going on, and I got no excuses. But we're going to try to be more consistent about it. But Trey, man, thank you so much for joining today. And everybody, please come check him out at Wisco Sports on the go. And then he is also, that's your name on Twitter too, right? The one that we see down here?
Yep.
To check him out on Twitter, add him on Twitter. I'll definitely be tagging him in all of our stuff. And I'm definitely trying to get the Spotify account back up and running. So you'll be seeing our shows on Apple as well as Spotify. If you did miss a show live, you You can definitely check it out in there. Of course, you always check it out on YouTube. But other than that, though, didn't get very many comments today, but it's all good. We'll try to see if we can pick that back up again. I see that our followers did jump up here in the last second. You guys joined in last minute, but it's okay. If you guys couldn't check out the show, please come check it out on YouTube. Do the replay on there, as well as we'll have it up on Apple as well too. But look, everybody, you guys have a great rest of your week. Happy Monday. Happy early Memorial Day. With Monday being Memorial Day weekend and that being Memorial Day, I'll talk to Trag about if you want to go on Monday, or if we can maybe go on Tuesday. If we got family stuff going on, barbecues, things like that. You know what I'm saying? Maybe people want to hear us while they're barbecuing with their family. I don't know. I think it'd be pretty cool. But look, everybody, you guys have a great rest of your day, a great week. Let's hope that we got maybe some good stuff will come out of the Packer out of 1265 or not. And we'll just keep it chill and just wait till next week to talk about something else. Good deal. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.
See ya.